Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wolf Pit with another episode of What Are We Eating? A couple weeks ago I found a 4-pound bucket of Jack Daniel's seasoned, cooked, and pre-cut pork ribs for $20. I don't know why, but I was really intrigued to try these. And besides the ribs, I got a free bucket. Well, I guess when you pay $20 for the ribs, the bucket's not free. I opened up the ribs and cooked them according to the directions, and they smelled pretty good while they were in the oven. But things went downhill real fast when I took my first bite. Even though they looked decent and smelled decent, they were bad. And I'll leave it at that. If you want to see how bad they were, you can go watch the video. So the other day, I was in the same section of the same grocery store and found this 1.5 pound rack of Kingsford, no mess, oven and grill ready, fully cooked baby back pork ribs with sweet and smoky Kansas City barbecue sauce for $10, which was half the cost of the Jack Daniel's ribs. But it's also 2.5 less pounds of ribs. So that works out to be $6.67 per pound for the Kingsford ribs, and $5 a pound for the Jack Daniel's ribs. So the Kingsford pork ribs are more expensive. But the Jack Daniel's ribs were bad. So hopefully for the additional cost, the Kingsford ribs will be worth it. With Kingsford having over 90 years of grilling tradition, these ribs are minimally processed with no artificial ingredients and made only with real ingredients, which you can see here. There's only 3 ingredients: cooked pork back ribs, barbecue sauce, and seasoning. They're also gluten-free and do not contain any high fructose corn syrup, artificial flavors or colors, or preservatives. Over 90 years of real grilling tradition. In 1920, we started making outdoor grilling history, and today, we're reinventing it. Our authentic ribs are made with only real ingredients to fuel your passion for creating genuine taste. First, we hand select the best cuts of meat. Next, we season them with the perfect blend of spices. Then we smoke for hours using real hardwood. Finally, we slather on the best regional sauces. From the slow cooking to the sauce, and now the meat, we've got your cravings covered. Together, we'll start something that's not just great, but real great. The serving size is 5 ounces of meat, and there's about 3.5 servings per container. Per 5 ounce serving, there's 260 calories, 10 grams of total fat, 4 grams of saturated fat, no trans fat, 40 milligrams of cholesterol, 820 milligrams of sodium, 32 grams of carbohydrates, 1 gram of fiber, 26 grams of sugars, and 11 grams of protein. Now, just like the Jack Daniel's ribs, these have a very long shelf life. I bought these on February 2nd, so I've had them for a little over a week, and they still last until April 12th. On the Jack Daniel's ribs video, I got a lot of comments saying the best buy date was for when they were frozen, but that was incorrect with the Jack Daniel's ribs and these. The sticker clearly says use or freeze by April 12th, 2018. To me, that's way too long to be kept without freezing. The longer they sit, the more the quality decreases, and the possibility of them going bad increases. But that's just my opinion. So hopefully, they hadn't been sitting around too long before I got them. You can either reheat these in the oven or grill. I'm going to reheat them in the oven considering we're having a monsoon right now. So let's get them out of the box and see what they look like. And they look pretty good on the box, but we all know how these companies like to catfish us, the consumers. This is actually a whole rack of ribs compared to the Jack Daniel's ribs that were pre-cut. I actually prefer the ribs to be intact like this. They look better and they should give you a moisture finished rib. Instead of a bucket like Jack Daniel's gives you, they give you a much more useful aluminum tray to cook these in. So obviously, we need to remove the plastic. They actually look and smell pretty good already, and I could smell a little bit of smoke. The directions say to baste the top of the rack with the sauce. Then they go into a preheated 400-degree oven uncovered for 15 minutes, or until they reach 165 degrees and the sauce begins to caramelize. Then baste with the remaining sauce and serve. After 15 minutes in a 400-degree oven, our ribs are at 165 degrees and the sauce started to caramelize. They look pretty good and they smell really good. So let's get these cut up and see if they're any good. And even with a dull knife, you can see they're very tender. They were piping hot and I was burning my fingers. Now I know a smart person would have used a fork or worn a pair of gloves. But I never said I was smart. But burning my fingers is worth it. For you, the people, so you don't have to. I really should have let them cool a bit before slicing, because slicing meat while it's hot is the best way to dry it out. So I'd have to take that into consideration when I tasted them. So far, these ribs don't look bad at all for what they are. They look to be a little bit overcooked, but other than that, they smell great and look pretty good. It also looks like there's a little smoke ring too. But the proof is in the flavor, moisture, and texture. So I grabbed a bone to give it a try. As you can tell now, and as the video goes on, these are messy. Or is it me that's messy? Either way, I was making a mess. So I took a bite. I was pleasantly surprised with the tenderness, moisture, and flavor. They were cooked much better than it looked like when I was cutting them. They were nice and tender, the way they should be. but not too tender where they lose their texture and they're falling off the bone. They still have a nice tender chew to them. And they were still very moist. I was afraid they would dry out since I cut them while they were really piping hot. But they were very moist and the sauce was good too. I ate the rest of the rib, which was more than I ate from the Jack Daniel's ribs. I grabbed another rib and added another layer of sauce to my clumsy fingers. But this time getting messy was worth it, not only because the ribs were decent, but because I was doing it for you, the people, so you don't have to. The more sauce I got on my fingers, the more difficult it was for my already floundering hands to hold onto the rib. Again, I ate all the meat off the rib. I was enjoying these ribs, and I was impressed for what they were, especially compared to the first go around with the Jack Daniel's ribs. I even went in for a third rib before my wife gave them a try. Her response was, "These are much better than those other ones." So here's my final thoughts on the fully cooked Kingsford baby back ribs. They're definitely edible. Actually, they're better than just edible. They really weren't bad for store-bought, fully cooked ribs, which was a very pleasant surprise. They were moist, they were tender, but not too tender, and the seasoning and sauce was pretty good too. They also had a nice subtle smoke flavor. And they also had what appeared to be a smoke ring. I'd compare these to subpar ribs from a chain restaurant. In a restaurant, I would expect a better product. But for fully cooked, ready-to-eat ribs from the grocery store, these are good for what they are, which is why I'm going to give these a very strong 6 out of 10. If you'd like to help support the Wolf Pit, consider being a patron. You can pledge as little as $1 a month. That's only $12 for the whole year. Or you can pledge more. That's up to you. Either way, every little bit's appreciated and helps me produce more high-quality videos more often for you, the people. Thank you all very much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.